This animation details how to assemble and use MGF augers. MGF augers are excavator mounted drills that are generally used in conjunction with excavator mounted vibrators to loosen up difficult ground conditions, allowing sheets to be pre-driven. They are supplied within a cradle for transportation and safe handling, as well as to aid with control during installation, removal and use. MGF augers are suitable for use with excavators ranging from 13 tonnes to 45 tonnes in capacity. There are a range of fully flighted drill components and telescopic or rigid extensions to allow for a maximum drilling depth of up to 9 metres. Max depths require the telescopic extensions and two 2-metre rigid extensions. The auger cradle is connected to the excavator via a quick hitch bolted headplate. The requested headplate will be fitted prior to hire and simply bolts to the cradle. Refer to the MGF Auger user guide for information on how to use the product, including connectivity details and daily check, safety tips, as well as a troubleshooting section. MGF advise that the auger should be fitted by an MGF service engineer. The auger should only be operated by suitably trained personnel. The auger will be delivered to site within its cradle. The cradle features lift points for handling using a 4-leg chain in addition to fork pockets. Prior to any handling operations, it is essential that the locking pin and linch pin are installed. The locking pin is inserted through the locking holes on the cradle and the lug on the auger. Spare 30mm pins are stored on the cradle. If a telescopic extension is required, then this will be inserted within the drill before being delivered to site. Prior to handling, ensure that the 30mm telescopic lock and telescopic adjustment pins are installed and secured. There are 2 handling holes along the length of the drill for balance lifts. The hole closest to the end of the drill is for handling the drill only, while the hole closest to the top of the drill is for handling the drill when connected to the telescopic extension. When using this additional handling hole, the telescopic extension needs to be fully compressed. They are handled using the supplied 4.75 tonne shackle and a sling. Prior to connecting the drill to the auger, the drill should be positioned in line and central to the excavator tracks, with the socket end facing away from the excavator and the bottom end of the drill level with the front of the excavator tracks. The auger cradle also features a 1 tonne lift point, which can be used for handling purposes once connected to the excavator quick hitch. Ensure that the excavator boom has sufficient reach for connecting the auger to the quick hitch as well as to the drill, and that neither will clash with the excavator during the connection. Prior to connecting the auger to the excavator quick hitch, ensure that the auger cradle is positioned correctly and fully extend the excavator bucket ram and disengage the locks. Visually confirm these are open. Connect the quick hitch by hooking onto the top pin and then rotating the quick hitch so that both pins are within the quick hitch clamp points. Crowd the quick hitch again by fully extending the bucket ram and then locking the quick hitch and inspecting to confirm these are closed. The quick release hydraulic fittings should now be connected to the relevant fittings on the excavator boom. Refer to the MGF Auger user guide. It is recommended that this be done by an MGF fitter. A pressure reducing valve may be required dependent on excavator setup. Once fully connected, check operation of the drill in both directions by using the pecker control lever. The cradle locking pin can now be removed and stored back on the cradle. Ensure the excavator is stopped prior to approaching the cradle. Be mindful of any finger trap hazards. The auger should now be connected to the drill by carefully lining up the auger drive head with the socket on the drill. Ensure that the pin bores are aligned. The auger motor may need to be rotated to do this. Once these are aligned, then the excavator should track back to make the connection. Secure the motor using a 30mm pin and linch pin. Ensure the pin is orientated so the circular head of the pin fits into the recessed side and the linch pin is secured on the scalloped side. The auger and drill can now be lifted from the floor and can be controlled using the cradle. Prior to use, check the hoses are connected and fitted correctly and that the unit has been properly run in. It is essential that the ground be assessed for underground hazards and that a site survey and risk assessment are completed before starting any work. it must be marked out where the auger is to drill. Throughout use, it is essential that an exclusion zone be set up around the auger and that no operatives are within the zone during use. To use the auger, set up the drill in a vertical position and start drilling clockwise. Simply lower the drill into position. The excavator arm must apply sufficient downwards force whilst ensuring the drill stays vertical at all times. Continual adjustment of the excavator arms will be required to maintain verticality during the drilling operation. Failure to keep the drill vertical could result in damage. Do not apply too much downwards force during use, as this can cause the auger to stall, which could damage the machine. Ensure that the cradle arm is pointed away from the auger throughout drilling, otherwise this could cause damage. During drilling operations, regularly raise the auger out of the ground to clear material from the flights. This will help maintain drilling operations. When removing the auger, back screw the drill for several seconds before removing it from the hole. In between drilling operations, never leave the auger suspended. Always park the machine with the auger on the ground. Never go beyond the drilling depths for the drills or extensions as specified by the MGF Auger User Guide. If drilling depths beyond 3.2 meters are required, this can be achieved using telescopic and rigid extensions. If a telescopic extension is being used, then this should already be installed within the drill as detailed earlier. To extend the extension, the drill must be positioned so the upper flight is just above ground level. A min 150mm by 50mm timber, 1.2 meter long, should be inserted between the flight and the ground to take the weight of the drill. Ensure the weight is equally distributed either side of the hole. The auger drive pin should now be removed to allow the excavator arm to carefully lift the auger until the desired extension is achieved. Be careful when extending the telescopic extension. Ensure the exclusion zone is maintained during use. If the red section of the telescopic extension is exposed, then this means the telescopic extension is nearing its maximum setting. Take care in lining up this last hole, as the telescopic inner section can come free from the drill. Once the holes are aligned, the auger drive pin and linch pin should be reinstalled. Once fully secured, the auger can be lifted slightly to allow the timber to be removed. Drilling to the new depth can now commence. Once drilling is completed, it is recommended to fully compress the extensions before removing the drill. This should follow the same procedure by lifting the drill and supporting with timber, before removing the auger drive pin and carefully lowering, until the telescopic is fully compressed. Once the holes are aligned, simply secure using the same pin and linch pin. Ensure exclusion zones are maintained while the excavator is active. If drilling depths are over 5.4 meters, then a rigid extension is required. This should be installed once the drill is in the ground. The telescopic extension must be fully compressed to allow the connections to be made at ground level. It is recommended to remove the drill from the ground and clear the spoil from the flight before reinserting back into the hole. As before, use a suitably sized timber to support the weight of the drill. Ensure that it is secure. Disconnect the auger drive pin to remove the drill and lift up the auger, and slew over to connect the rigid extension using the same method as for the drill. Prior to lifting, ensure the extension drive pin and linch pin are fully secured. The auger and rigid extension should now be positioned above the drill and lowered so that the pinholes align. Once at the correct height, the auger drive pin and linch pin should be installed. The telescopic extension should now be extended to its maximum length as before. Drilling can now continue. It is possible to install up to 2 rigid extensions by following the same process for a maximum drilling depth of 9 meters for the 400mm diameter drill and 8 meters for the 600mm diameter drill. Ensure these maximum depths are not exceeded. Once drilling is completed, then depending on the size of the machine, it might be possible to pull the entire drill assembly out of the hole for the components to be broken down outside of the hole. But in most instances, the rigid extensions will have to be removed prior to removing the drill, and the telescopic extension should be fully compressed prior to removing. To remove the rigid extensions, simply support the weight of the drill with the timber. either inserted under the upper flight or, in the case of the rigid extension, through the handle. The relevant pin and linch pin can be removed to lift the rigid extension out. This should then be removed from the auger by removing the auger drive pin and linch pin before removing to an unloading area. The auger should then be connected back to the drill in the ground before being removed from the hole. Removal of the auger from the excavator is basically a reverse of the connection. Once the drill components are disconnected, the cradle locking pin should be inserted through the auger and the cradle and secured using a linch pin. The auger can now be disconnected from the excavator quick hitch and moved over to a suitable storage area.